Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very special episode. She Scores Bangers is teaming up with the Northern Super League over the next few weeks to bring you exclusive interviews with players and others that are gearing up for their inaugural season, set to kick off on April 16th. The NSL, founded by former Canada International Diana Matheson, is Canada's first ever professional women's soccer league, with 6 clubs based in Halifax, Calgary, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. You can catch the action on CBC, TSN, and other online streaming platforms. Today's guest has been named the Minister of Defense, not in a political cabinet, but in between the sticks. A Yukon Husky, she spent her entire career across the world in Sweden, the United States, and briefly in France. Conceding only 2 out of the 6 penalty kicks in the 2020 Olympics finale against Sweden to claim gold, it's none other than Vancouver Rise sporting director and former international Canada goalkeeper, Steph Labbe. Steph, it's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
Awesome. It's great to be here. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
I kind of have to ask you this because it's been the question that I've been asking everybody who is slightly associated with BC. Now, even though you don't hail out of BC, you're going to be spending a lot of time there, and you have spent a lot of time there. So I feel like it's only fair to ask you, what is your consensus on West Coast, Best Coast?
Well, I'm born and raised. I don't know if Alberta is fully considered West Coast, but I've always said I'm part of the West Coast, so I'll take it. But I mean, no one's ever heard the saying East Coast, Best Coast. Like it's clear that it's obviously West Coast, Best Coast.
The reference was made for West Coast, so the consensus is
Exactly.
always West Coast, Best Coast. It is
Always.
Vancouver Rise that has you in BC. Talk to me about how you're feeling about the launch of the NSL and the excitement all around it.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. You know, when you are working day in and day out, like thinking about this every second of every day, it almost feels like, these days are never going to come where you actually get to see some football and see players on the pitch and coaches coaching. So yeah, so there's been a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. I feel like next week when our team finally starts preseason, there's going to be some tears in my eyes, just like seeing it all come together. I think it's just like such a wonderful time in women's sports in this country, and to be a part of it and to be in this position, to be able to kind of like help build it from the back, but then be able to almost like sit back and like watch it unfold and watch it right in front of your eyes. I don't know if it's something that you can really explain in words. It's going to be a really, yeah, special moment in this new part of my career.
I think we're going to have a lot of people be teary eyes whenever we see the first training session, the first X, Y, and Z, which is all really exciting because I think there's a lot of history behind it. And kind of this league coming together, we have long heard rumblings, and you were an integral part of putting together Project 8 and sort of the process to getting up to this point. What's the importance of finally having a professional soccer league here in Canada?
Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can take this. I mean, for me, obviously, the first thing, the importance of it for the players, to give our Canadian players that chance to play at home, to play in front of friends and families, to play in front of Canadian fans and build their brand here, to get their name to become more household names, to give fans a chance to cheer on our Canadian players more than, once or twice a year in the major cities. Um, and for players to be able to have that kind of cliche work-life balance where you can pursue your dream, follow your dreams, play professionally, do what you love to do, but also be able to, start to create a foundation and a life outside of sport where, maybe you're going to be in a city that you can see yourself living in for the rest of your life. And then it's for staff, it's for jobs, it's for, players who want to go into working in sport after. For so many Canadians, we have, amazing Canadian coaches and administrators and commentators and medical staff, and none of them have been able to work in women's sport in Canada before. So for them to now have this opportunity to, whether they were players before or not, but just to be able to kind of pursue that profession, for young kids to be in the stands and see, female coaches on the sidelines, female doctors, female physios and chiros, female sporting directors and presidents and owners of teams. Like all of these different positions now are now attainable, and yeah, we can have this in Canada. And then I think for the fans, it's so important, like for fans to continue to get to know the Canadian players, to see who the up and coming players are, to be able to support women's sports, and not just have to find a stream on their computer to watch players play in different countries, but to actually go out and buy tickets, buy merchandise, and really feel like they're having an impact and cheer on, their favorite team or their favorite player. This just goes so deep. And I think like lastly, it's societal, like for every young kid in this country to look up and be able to see role models and inspirational people that look like them, that come from places like them, that have similar backgrounds to them. Whether it's men, women, trans people, like really just having all of these different role models and seeing that, yeah, no matter who you are and what your background is, like you can pursue this, whether it's on the pitch or in the boardroom. There's so many opportunities. And so I really think this is going to be a massive shift in the ecosystem of sport in Canada.
I think when you look at the checklist that you just mentioned, it's really really long, and in some ways, it's a bit hard to see that it's taking Canada this long to come here. And something that you've talked about across your career, sort of the aches of having to play away the entire time. And you just brought it up in terms of they get to explore the cities, they get to explore life outside of soccer. I mean, Canada's a beautiful country. There's a lot to do. Tell me about that aspect of not hopefully now seeing more players go through that, having to stay away from home their entire professional career.
Yeah, I think it's a really special time. For me, when I was playing abroad, I remember always kind of seeing the local players and, on weekends when it was like a local holiday, seeing those players being able to like go home to their families for family dinner on that holiday, and always kind of feeling like, we missed out on the Thanksgiving dinners, the Easter dinners, the weddings, the friends' graduations, like whatever it was, like you miss out on so many things when you're abroad. And like I said, like seeing teammates who are going for coffee with like their high school friends or friends that they knew from all these different adventures, like those are things that we really miss out on. And it's not to say that every Canadian is going to choose to play in this league, because there is still incredible experiences and learnings that you get from playing abroad. I learned how to be a professional when I was forced to move away and forced to kind of create my own schedule and make sure I was arriving to things on time, making sure I was taking care of my body. No one else was going to tell me how to do that. I had to figure that out on my own. Also, like playing under different types of coaches, different playing styles, playing against different types of players. Different countries offer different challenges. And so it's going to take time, but like we're still going to see Canadians pursuing different opportunities in different countries, because every country and every league is going to offer something different in terms of experience and opportunity. What we're really hoping to create here in Canada is an opportunity that, of course, is competitive with all of those in terms of pay, in terms of playing style, in terms of level, in terms of opponents within the league. And I think it's also a really amazing destination for international players to want to come to get those experiences. That's the same reason why Canadians, go abroad to other countries. We have a fantastic country that a lot of people, want to experience and want to live in, and want to feel the culture of what we have here in Canada. And, I think especially with obviously recent events, I think we're going to see a lot more internationals looking to move up to Canada. And so I think it's a really exciting time to continue to build a really like multicultural league, but also, yeah, a league that provides those opportunities for Canadians to continue to develop when maybe those overseas contracts aren't always available.
I think it's all about the opportunity and the choice of having to stay home. Obviously, like you mentioned, not all Canadians are going to have to play here or will definitely play here. But it's the fact that there will be an opportunity to play at home. And I think it's fair to say that you are making that opportunity happen for a lot of many great talents across the country. But I would say it's also pretty fair to say that you have been a key figure in shaping women's soccer in Canada. How does it feel to be shaping now the future of women's soccer in Canada from a leadership role rather than on the field?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, because it wasn't something that was necessarily like forefront of my brain, like I want to continue doing this. It was something that just I think naturally kind of fell into the player I became, the person I became through sport. I really think being a goalkeeper, like we see a lot of goalkeepers go into leadership positions in different clubs. I look at one of my mentors as a player and now as in the business is Karina LeBlanc. Like goalkeepers just kind of have, I think, throughout when you're playing at the highest level, you gain these leadership qualities, these qualities of being able to really like organize and bring people together and try to get, different people on the same page in terms of like looking at your back line and that um kind of connection between everybody. And so I think those characteristics really were a natural fit in terms of like leading me into this role.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think with my just experiences and how recently I was in the game as a player to now being in this position, I have a really good understanding of kind of the global game of the players that are in the game, the level of different leagues, what different leagues offer. So really being able to use that to help build a squad and build a culture within a club that I'm really excited about. And then I think for me, and it's something I've always said, is like I get to take all of the experiences and learnings that I had in the different clubs in the different countries that I played for, like the good and the bad. And really now I get to build a club based on all of those experiences that, for me would have been like a dream club to play for. So it's a really like, I think, unique position for me to be in with the experiences I've had and then the characteristics and values that I've learned as an athlete to now be able to kind of shift that into the boardroom and help build a club that, so many players can hopefully be really proud of.
I mean, this is a perfect way to segue into my next question of how do you build the club? I think one of the main questions we were seeing from NSL fans of, right, I'm assuming a sporting director definitely has their hands full with putting a roster together. Can you tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day job as a sporting director look like?
Yeah, it's definitely shifted from like day one to now. Day one, it really started and more of a like hierarching kind of like culture, club identity, like who do we want to be? What do we want to be seen as? What do we want players and staff to experience? So, naming the team, getting the logo, getting the colors, getting, like I said, kind of that cultural feel of like, who are we going to be? And then as that kind of shifted into then building out not only the team behind the team, so the staff members I want to bring in to help drive and lead that culture, but then right down to the players. And, I've for my whole life loved building puzzles, and this is exactly what that feels like. Unfortunately, I don't have like a border to start with and then fill in the missing pieces. I'm really starting from scratch. But it was a really exciting challenge. And I think for me, it was like making sure I went towards getting one of the biggest names in Canadian soccer to come and play for Vancouver, and getting Quinn in was exactly that. Like, a current player who has massive experience, who is an incredible role model to so many people, not only in Canada, but in this world. A player that's going to be a dominant force on the field, but also I think someone that's going to really rally with the community and rally with getting fans and the community to really support this club.
Mm.
And then, filling in all the pieces around like exciting young players, experienced players that have been in the pro game for many years. And really just trying to kind of bring in players that will fit that cultural identity that we've been building from behind the scenes, players that are excited about a new project and wanting to be a part of building something. There's no doubt going to be challenges along the way. We're going to prepare for everything that we can, but adversity is going to hit at some point.
Mhm.
And so having players and characters that can really understand and continue to go through that, maintain that culture that we've built. And I think just be as a team and as a club, a dominant force on and off the pitch.
Tell me about the culture and the identity of the Rise.
Yeah, I think, we want to be a team that number one inspires and entertains our fans in the way that we play, in the way that we carry ourselves, and the behaviors that we have. For me, a big piece was making sure that we had a really good core of professional players coming in that had those experiences of playing professionally because, I remember learning so much for sure in college. But it was when I turned pro that I really learned so much about myself, about what it really means to be a professional. And so I don't think you can learn that until you've had that experience, until you've been in the pro
Mm.
game. And so having a good core group of players that have those experiences that can help lead that next generation was really, really important. And then, like I said, bringing big names, bringing those next stars that I'm excited for Canada to see. All of that will hopefully continue to shape in terms of that culture that we want to build. And then I think like on the pitch, we're going to have a certain identity, but I think off, we want to be a team that really connects to the community, that the community feels like they can connect with as well. Um, a team that supports the causes and companies that we believe in and that we want to be a part of. And I think it's just really about that community connection to continue to inspire the next generation and, not only the young kids in the stands, but adults as well.
Hmm. I think from the series of talking to different coaches and players, they've all said, or each club has answered differently as to what are we expecting to see on the pitch. And I think it's going to be a process. Like obviously, the soccer is not going to be the same on day one as it'll be on, let's say, week 7. But what are we expecting to see from Vancouver when they take on the pitch?
Yeah, I think a really exciting attacking minded football. I'm a goalkeeper that love to have the ball at my feet. I love to play out. I love to try to beat opponents' press. And so having kind of that same vision where we want to be a team that can control the game, control it in possession, be dynamic in our movements, but also look to surprise teams with having some adaptability and versatility in how we play. So not always doing the same things. And I think a big piece of that is not only comes down to the tactics, but it comes down to the players we're bringing in players that have X factors that can change a game when the ball is around them, that can do the unexpected, can do things that are not, yeah, always expected. And so I think that's going to bring a certain element of entertainment for our fans and for the community that's going to come out and watch and support us. But I think at the end of the day, it's a team that's going to dominate in possession, is going to be ruthless in our defending, and is going to, yeah, entertain and create a lot of chances and score lots of goals.
I feel like ruthless defending comes from the mindset of being in the Canadian national side.
Yes, for sure. That's in our DNA. We can't let that one go.
I love how you're translating it over to the club football now here in Canada. But you highlighted that certainly there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some challenges, I think, that not only are clubs going to face, but I think the league is in general. And those are all going to be things that I think are expected with a professional league. What are some of those, I guess, challenges that you anticipate, and how do you think we can overcome them?
Yeah, I think just the nature of it being a new league, like it's hard to really predict exactly like what those challenges are going to be. Maybe it's broadcasting and it's the first time that we've broadcasted women's pro sports. So maybe there's like some challenges with that, or maybe there's challenges with travel internal with, maybe flight bookings or hotel bookings or like travel to and from stadiums. Maybe it's some challenges with like visas for players or staff, or maybe it's challenges with scheduling. With, we have a very, very big country. And so for us doing like cross country trips to Halifax and how the scheduling works out with that. And I think there's so many little things, and everyone's doing their best right now to make sure that we plan and prepare for all of that, and hopefully have all the boxes ticked. But naturally, there's probably going to be some things that come up, and I think it's just like being able to be adaptable and go with the flow and figure it out as we go.
Hopefully no visa issues. I've heard that that can be a nightmare for clubs to deal with. You've highlighted a lot, kind of inspiring the next generation and, youngsters, either boys, girls, trans, I mean, just the entire Canadian population to inspire them. If you could talk to 10-year-old Steph Labbe, what would you tell her right now, knowing that you're kind of putting this very special project for Canadian soccer?
I think just like same thing I've always said to myself, even as an athlete, like slow down and enjoy the process. Like there's so much work to be doing, and feels like we're, working all hours of the days during the week, weekends, everything. I think just like really take the moments to enjoy it. Like, next week when preseason starts, like take a moment to really just like let go of everything else and just like look what you've helped create and been a part of creating, and look at the players on the pitch and the joy in their faces. Like that first game, look at the joy in the fans' faces for being able to be a part of this historical moment, and players and referees and commentators, and like just everybody who gets to be involved and experience that, like really just, I think, yeah, take those moments to really enjoy it because there's going to be a lot of firsts, but really being able to like take that in.
Joy will be in the air. As kind of a trend that we're trying to keep in the series is ending it with a really fun question. And I feel like it's pretty fair to ask a sporting director if you could build a player from three former Canadian international teammates that you've played with, how would that player look like?
Ooh. I would say this the innate scoring ability of Sink,
Mhm.
the vision and composure of Jesse Fleming, and the uh physicality and dominance of Vanessa Gilles.
I sense a Ballon d'Or coming to the NSL. I love it. Steph, thank you so much for joining me today. I think myself and many look forward to seeing Vancouver kick it on the field. And hopefully it's West Coast, Best Coast, and that'll be shared across many, many fans.
Let's do it. Pump for it.
Perfect.